Welcome to another episode of Your Faith and Health Community. I'm your host, Pastor Jackie Jackson. And on behalf of myself, as well as our producer, Anita Alexander, we want to thank you very much for taking out time to spend with us. Hopefully, prayerfully today, we'll give you some information that will be life-changing. Now, before we start, I've got to ask you, since the last time, if you hadn't already done it, have you enrolled in health care? Listen, you can have everything in the world. There's a scripture that says, what profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his very soul? That is the ultimate important. But what do you profit if you start gaining everything and you do nothing about your health? So you've got to get enrolled in health insurance. If you need Medicaid, in other words, if you're single, your income is $16,223 or less a year, that makes you eligible for Medicaid. If you're a family of four with a combined income of $44,558 a year, that makes your entire family eligible for Medicaid. This covers dental, vision, hospitalization, emergency room visits, medication. And if you haven't had to pay for medication out of your pocket yet, you may not know it will break the bank. It also covers pre-existing condition. It covers everything. Now, if you don't fall within that guideline and you want to go online to look for your specific income to see where you fall within there, if not, then you're going to have to go to the marketplace. You need to go think about what doctors do you want to see? What hospital do you want to go to? I am very particular. I like Westchester Medical, or I guess it's actually UC, but it's UC Westchester. That's where I go. And so if I'm looking at insurance, I want to be sure that I'm covered for that hospital. You want to be sure that your particular medication, listen, contrary to what people may think, all medications are not covered in every insurance policy. There's some policy or some medication that insurance policies won't cover. So get your health care, make sure that you're covered. If you won't do it for you, do it for your family, right? So listen, we want to thank our very special guests for being here today. And they are a part of NARAB, which is the Cincinnati Realtist Association. And we have with us Pastor, I'm going to go ahead and say pastor since he's a pastor, Ken Webb. We have Mrs. Helen Robinson, and we have Davan Gassett.
Yes.
I did it. All right, so I want to thank you all for being at the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And I apologize, and I always slow down because if you're married, I don't want to say it wrong, and so I just want to make sure that I do it right. I may not have, but I aspire to do it. So we want to thank you all for being here today, and we're here to talk about loans for housing and something that's real important. Part of the American dream is owning a house, right? And sometimes it seems like that American dream is slipping further and further away. And especially if you're Black or African American or minority. So we're going to talk about a lot around Black millennials, home ownership. We're going to talk about loans. We're going to talk about the credit, the denials, the failures, all the things that you and I sometimes maybe go through and don't have the answer for and don't know where to get the answer. Well, we have the answer sitting here today, and so we're going to jump in. And I guess we're going to start with where it all starts, with loans.
Okay.
Right? I mean, at the end of the day, if I don't have the money, if I don't have the loan, then I can look at 1 million houses, and if I don't, as you said, have a rich uncle,
right,
then it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, one of the problems that we have in the African community, unlike other communities, we don't have the vested individuals and families. They put the money in the wrong things. So for example, they put money in a wedding versus money into an actual mortgage. So for example, when you think about many times a person will spend $40,000 into a wedding reception and a wedding and look up, and then at the end of the year they're getting divorced. The $40,000 they could have put down for down payment assistance or down payment to get that loan, they would have. One of the programs that we have at Republic Bank is called a neighborhood housing program, which is called NHP, where we actually can do the down payment assistance, which is one of the problems that many people deal with. The three barriers that we struggle with, especially in the African community, are credit, debt to income ratio, and then the third one is down payment assistance. And so down payment assistance is crucial because there's no use you trying to get all this paperwork done, all this stuff done through your underwriters, and then you can't afford the loan, right? It's a waste of time for you, a waste of time for the lender. And so what happens is that people come to the table with not money vested in, saying they don't have funds to actually get pre-approved, because then it wastes time for the realtors, right? Realtors showing you houses all over the place and you can't afford them. That's why they want you to get a pre-approval, right? Because they want you to make sure that you can actually be pre-approved over the house that you're actually saying you can get. But a lot of times in our community, we don't have access to that capital. And so that gets us always a tier or a second tier below other people when it comes to trying to purchase a home.
Okay. Now, you know what, and I did this, I jumped ahead because I think I wanted to get into that,
Right.
to talk about the process, because for so many people, there are a lot of young couples that are trying to find a home. There are a lot of almost kind of middle-aged people, such as myself, that may be out there. And so I guess I wanted to get to that process. But before we continue, we should talk about who and what is the Realtist.
Yes.
Okay.
That's probably important.
Yes.
Excuse me. So the Realtist was founded in 1947. It is a group we are members of NARAB, which is the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which was founded in 1947. It was when African Americans or minorities weren't able to become realtors, so they created a trade association called NARAB, the Realtists, as the members, and we've been going ever since.
Actually, the organization has been around for the last 72 years. We advocate fair housing and fair access to housing and lending.
Was that
Okay.
started here in Cincinnati?
No, there were people from several different states, but you know, we always have a way to stay in touch with our roots. So they met, they were black brokers from several states, decided to meet, I think it was in June 1947, in July 1947, they met in Tampa, Florida, and they decided that we have a right to own real estate. We have a right to educate others like us so that we can participate in the process of home ownership. So these 12 brokers got together and formed the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And they decided that we would be called Realtists because the majority group, the National Association of Realtors, didn't want us to belong, so we started our own. Then as time went along, we were invited to join the majority group. And because they had some tools that we didn't have, and we were all doing the same thing, they said, okay, we will join, but we will still keep our group. So hence, we've been around 72 years, and we're still going strong. We're in 33 states, and we have 88 chapters.
All right, so this is local, this is national.
Yes.
You plan on expanding it international? I'm just curious.
I don't know. We're working to get ourselves together. So.
Okay, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
And we're the oldest African American trade association in America.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very important.
Can I ask, who's the president? Or is there a president? I'm assuming
We
there's
have a national president. His name is Darnell Williams. He's from Atlantic City, New Jersey. He will be in office for the next 2 years.
Okay. You were getting ready to say something, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
No? All right, so there's something coming up, right? So the detail of the 2019 State of the Housing in Black America, what is that?
That's the Sheba report.
The Sheba?
Sheba.
Right.
The words that you just said represent the Sheba report, State of Housing in Black America.
Acronym.
Okay.
That's the acronym.
Okay.
Okay. And sadly to say, the state of housing for African Americans have decreased since our organization was organized. So, you know, we're looking to see what has caused that and what can we do about it. So right now, our national organization, NARAB, has an initiative in effect where we're trying to get, 2 million and 5? Mm-hmm. 2 million new African American homeowners in 5 years. That's our initiative. That's our goal.
2 million and 5.
Yeah,
right.
2 million new homeowners in 5 years.
So what year are you in of the 5?
I would say we're in the second year, and we're adding new initiatives to better track what we're doing, track our numbers nationwide.
From the data that you have so far, would you say that you're on track to reaching your goal?
I'm not at liberty to speak about that right now.
Okay, good enough. Just thought I'd ask. So,
let me add something else
Please.
to that. Excuse me, as far as not being on track, but as far as initiatives, one of the things that they're doing, NARAB is doing, is utilizing the how can I word it, the only thing that the black community has, which is the church. And so they're doing the initiative now to try to implement programs, because every church is different. And so you can't come to every church talking the same way,
Right.
because everybody's different language and different cultures relates to that. So NARAB has done a great job of preparing its realtors to go into certain denominations and speak the language of the denomination so they can actually make that a reality. Because a lot of our pulpits seem to be our liaisons for the community. So as the community goes, so goes the pulpit. As the pulpit goes, so goes the community. And so NARAB has realized that that's a great opportunity for them to get into many households, because people take the advice of the pastor, right? Whatever congregation they're in,
Trusted source.
whether it be the pastor, whether it be the rabbi, or wherever the case might be, they take that person individually as that trusted source. And so NARAB is doing a good job, I think, of preparing its realtors to go into those different avenues and make a difference to help those individuals in those communities.
Right, that's our faith-based initiative. We also initiated this year the House Then the Car initiative,
Right.
because we're finding that if a person goes out and buy a house, goes out and buy a car, they're not able to buy a house for at least another year.
Right.
So especially with the millennials graduating from college, they seem to have less debt than maybe generations before them. So we're encouraging everybody, buy the house, then the car, because it's been proven that once you buy a house, everybody will give you credit, good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
So buy the house and then the car.
Which is a great initiative, because
right.
you can't not supposed to live in your car. but you buy the house first, right?
Right.
have a place to put the car.
Right, exactly. And so
Right.
we see that with not only African American consumers, but with consumers in general, that they want the car. And we tell people, even in the process of getting a mortgage, do not buy a car.
Right.
Do not buy any large pieces of furniture. Do not
Right.
buy anything that's going to mess up the credit score, mess up the whole DTI,
Income.
your debt to income ratio, because that could set you back another 2 years if you
Right.
if you buy something that's going to mess up the whole numbers.
Right.
And so that's a good initiative, because so often we if we do buy a car, we have to buy a brand new one. Why you got to buy a brand new one? Right? Because you got to set up the car with the house. That's why people have houses, don't have anything in their rooms, right? They have furniture, but they're definitely in certain rooms, right?
Right.
They open up a door and say, "Don't go in there. No, don't go in there. That door's locked." They say, "Why's the door locked?" Nothing's in there. Nothing goes in there, because they can't afford it, right?
Right.
Right.
So
I know when I got my first car, someone I had a lot of respect for, at least I did have a lot of respect for him, I just didn't listen to him. And that's what they told me, and this was in 81. Yeah, 81. And they said, don't buy the car.
Right.
Go buy a house for you and your family. I was like, yeah, but I've got to get my family around. We're on the bus. And they
Right.
said, yeah, but you need a place to live with your family. I said, well, we got a place to live. I can't move around. And
Right.
then I didn't listen, and I went and bought the car. And it was a while before we did. It was a while before we got in the house, because a lot of other stuff started happening, and then
Right.
it just didn't go. So you didn't ask that, but I thought I'd share it with
right,
you.
maintenance on the car and everything else.
Oh, it
Sometimes
got to
spirals
be
out of
there.
control.
So what are some of the biggest barriers in real estate with African American families?
as far as getting a home, one of the biggest ones in African Americans is credit and the lack thereof. A lot of times people assume I paid my bills, I don't have any bills, but what Ms. Helen was saying earlier about the millennials, they have a lot of loan debt, school debt, that you can't really get past it. And so once you consolidate that loan debt or work with that student loan organization to get that debt down, it might take a while. But a lot of times what happens, people think, okay, I got a credit card, open a credit card, and then didn't take care of it. And then there's other fees that they know about. And then you look at your credit report. It lets me look at your credit report. You can look at your credit report at least once a year. You can do 3 different agencies, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. You can look at those through annualcreditreport.com. The problem is people think that freecreditreport.com is free, but it's not. And
Yeah,
so,
I found that out.
Right, and so what a lot of people don't even know what their credit report's in there. Between the issues of fraud and that's going on so rampant these days, somebody might take your identity, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. There has been a tendency in the past where we as a people use our kids to get our gas and electric or our bell, Cincinnati bell turned on or something like that. As a matter of fact, when I was growing up, perfect example, I'm a junior and I pulled my credit. I was trying to buy my truck because I was not listening to what people told me either. So my first vehicle, I had to buy it, and then they pulled my credit. And it was like, well, you have some things on your credit report that you purchased when you was 8 and 9. Now, back in the day, my mom used to shop at a place. It's no longer in business, but the other place still is, Romans and Lane Bryant. So on my credit report, there was 2 items. One was Romans, one was Lane Bryant. Both of those were done when I was 8 and 9 years old, but it's on my credit report. But if I never pull my credit report, I never see that actually on my credit. We have a tendency of being fearful of what our credit looks like, so we can't go back and try to get it, help it, because we're too busy not wanting to look at it. And so, excuse me, one of the things that we do at Republic, a program called the Credit Builder Program, where we help people with their credit and help them establish their credit and get them to the point where they can actually have a good credit amount.
Okay. The financial literacy and credit builder, is that kind of what you're talking about, or is
Correct.
that something different?
That's the same thing.
Okay, so that's
We
the
can
same
segue
thing.
into the seminar that we're going to do.
Oh, good.
Oh, well, so we are having a home buyers fair November the 16th, and we have a registration starts at 12, and the event starts at 1. It'll go from 1 to 3, and it is located at Douglas Elementary. And if you need the address, it's 2627 Park Avenue, 45206. And it is, lunch is provided, but RSVP is required. So we do have some information as far as if you are interested in that event, to who you would contact for that. So.
And if you didn't get a chance to write down the address, the information, at the end of the show, you will be able to get the information. It'll scroll for you.
Okay.
And that's where the financial literacy piece will come in, as well as how to get a mortgage, and also talk about other aspects of home ownership.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's important to note, we talk to people about getting a home, buying a home, but with a home comes responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
There's maintenance. You can't call.
You can't
They call the landlord.
Say, come and fix it.
Excuse me.
So there's routine maintenance that you need to be aware of and plan for. So.
Right, and another thing is, like you talk about long term, it's a long term investment, being a homeowner. It's a great thing. It's funny because when you go to the closing tables and people are signing all those, the documentation, but then you realize it's a huge debt you get in front of you. But it's a great debt to have. It's better than having that car debt, right? Because that car debt depreciates as soon as you drive off the lot. But the home situation is something that's going to continue to build off of. You can build an actual family and a life in that home. So,
Or even passed down to generations. So, owning a home has that generational wealth that most people don't understand or get the concept of as well. So,
Right. And we're seeing a lot of the Black generational wealth being taken away
Right.
through gentrification, and probably also because due to lack of education and poor planning, because the real estate is probably the largest purchase most people will ever make in their life. It can also be the most valuable purchase if you take care of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, in terms of education, right? Bible says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge or lack of
Right.
information," and that's what I'm hearing. A lot of good information here, but this 30 minutes is not going to educate a person to the
no.
extent that they need. So what do you suggest for someone, whether they're a younger couple, a single individual, but someone who realizes that I need to own a piece of property. I need to own my own home. I need to own some land, something that actually is mine, and I'm not just paying into. What do you suggest? How do I get educated to make my big purchase?
A good step would be to come to the home buying education class that we're having on November the 16th. And then we, as Realtists, can follow up with you and get you to the point where give you the basics of what you need, and then work with you to build on that so that you can become a homeowner.
And I, as a lender, I would tell individuals not only to go to that, but it's not just one and done. It's continuous long-term relationships with that realtor as well as that loan lender. I tell people all the time about credit. Now I'm not as fit as I used to be, so I have established this little protrusion right here above my waist, and I said it took me a while to get there. Right, it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
This is years of good living. That's what my uncle used to tell me. So years of good living, and so it's the same way with credit. It's not going to be eradicated overnight, but it's a process. And so if you're looking at home ownership, don't get weary in doing the journey, because you'll be more the better if you expound on expertise of a realtor, expertise of a good lender, and understand that at the end of the day, you'll be satisfied when you sleep at night at that actual new home.
And we're in that point, especially when you speak about millennials, but not just millennials. We just live in an era where everything is faster.
Right.
You could put a turkey in a microwave. I haven't had one that way, but I understand you can actually do a turkey in the microwave. So everybody's looking for this quick fix. So you have all these different things coming on. The credit commercials, we can fix your credit. Come to us.
Right.
We'll fix your credit in 90 days. Or what do you suggest with that? I mean, and maybe I'm asking, maybe this isn't the right question or the right setting to ask that, but that's what a lot of people are looking at, that I can go and they'll fix your credit and they'll get you up and running real quick. Quick fix.
So I would just say, it sounds too good to be true.
It probably
is.
And buyer
Right.
beware.
And if it's on TV, they paid to be there. So they got to make their money. They have to get their money back. So here you come. So.
And everything they can do, you can do on your own.
Right.
All you have to do is actually just get the information. You can get that on Google. I mean, there's so many places you can find information on how to fix your credit. We just have to apply it,
Yeah.
So when you get in your mind that, hey, I need to get a home. I want to have my own home, my own place, regardless of where your credit is at. I mean, obviously where your credit is going to determine if you get the home at that time, but regardless of where it is, it's time to start that plan. It's time to start looking at least finding out what's required for the loan.
Exactly.
Not being afraid to look at the credit report and see all of the credit reports and see what's on there, and not let that be a deterrent, but let it become a determination that you're going to get it taken care of, and then reach out to you guys.
Right. I would agree.
Right.
Well, I wish we had a whole lot more time, because I know you couldn't have given us all the information that you have. But listen, we want to thank you all for spending time with us. If you're trying to get a home, if that's your thought, then you have some good information. There's an event coming up November 16th. 16th. You'll have the information. Go. Even if you already have a home, go. Maybe you're ready to get the second home, and maybe that information will help you. Or it may help you help someone else. And if you're a faith leader and you heard this, go. Get some information. Share with your congregation. And that's faith leader, imam, rabbi, whatever. Information is important. So we thank you. We hope that you got something that will change your life. And I just want to tell you to stay faithful Stay healthy.